What is a fluid environment? Let me answer that with a scenario. You're on your way home after a hectic day. You spent it in back-to-back meetings putting out fires. Fires actually that you thought were unrelated turned out two of them were actually different manifestations of the same thing. That took 3 meetings to sort that out. It didn't look that way at first. You've got things moving forward again, and even though it's now 8:30 p.m. and you're still on your way home, it feels good. What you don't yet know is that tomorrow will be worse. 2 more fires will erupt, and the 2 of today's fires that you thought were now under control will burst into flame again. This is familiar to you, or if you think you're living a life something like that once in a while, you are working in a fluid environment. Another test. During the next 90 minutes that we'll be spending together, give yourself 3 points if you check your mail or your messages each time, 3 points each time, 5 points if you send mail or a message, and 8 points if you step away because of some emergency that you have to deal with. If it is more than 15 points in 90 minutes, you are working in a fluid environment. Actually, that applies to any 90 minutes during the day. Our message is on this slide. Basic idea is that fluidity describes the relationship between the pace of change in your environment and your ability to deal with it. So, for example, if we're easily able to adapt to the changes as they come along, I don't think of that environment as fluid. We're busy, but we're happy. As the pace of change accelerates, things get unhitched from each other. The environment becomes less predictable, more fluid, as I like to think of it. And to succeed, you have to understand the fluid environment. You have to get better at anticipating what can happen next, prepare for possibilities, and adapt rapidly. So I am supposed to hit the space bar, and that should do the trick. No, that didn't do the trick. Hang on a second here. There we go. So fluid is subject to continual change. It's maybe not continuous change in the sense that there are times when change isn't actually happening, but the change is continual. It keeps on coming, as geologists say, in punctuated stasis. As we encounter are both predictable and unpredictable in the sense that although we can reasonably expect a change of a given kind, when it will come or how it will come. For example, you can expect that some of your team will be reassigned at some point, but not know who it will be or when it will happen. It always seemed to be at the worst time, but it's really unpredictable. We can reasonably expect that something we didn't anticipate, a risk, for example, that we didn't foresee, that occur. We don't know what it will be or when. The goal today is somehow to make all these things more predictable, to be ready to deal with them and to be able to deal with them more rapidly. In modern organizations, success is defined by how well we meet projections. Actually, it's been that way for a long time. We do meet them. We use careful planning and risk management, and when things go awry, we intervene effectively most of the time. But in fluid environments, we can't possibly know what's coming accurately enough to meet the expectations that we have to meet. Those expectations were based on conventional standards of success, which were set before the working environment became fluid. And SEED today, We have to change how we do things. We can't use conventional methods to meet conventional standards in an environment that is no longer conventional. Our ability to predict is just not up to the task. Since it is such a central property of fluid environments, it's useful to consider what kinds of changes make environments fluid. In conventional environments, and now I'm thinking about the workplace of 20 or 30 years ago, changes did happen, but they happened at a pace slow enough to enable us to deal with them. Conventional change management, conventional change control worked well enough. But in fluid environments, the intervals between changes are shorter than the time we need to accommodate each change. The next change arrives before we're finished dealing with the last one. Conventional change management methodologies can't deal with the pace of change today. So there are three keys to dealing with change more effectively, and here they are. We have to anticipate it better. We have to get so good at outthinking the change that we're ready when it happens. We need to adapt to it, and by that I mean get better at accommodating whatever changes come along. And we have to make our plans resilient. Resilience is the property that facilitates accommodation. So let's look at these one at a time. Our first topic is anticipation. To get better at anticipating change, adopt a simple strategy. There's really 4 parts to this strategy. Most difficult one is to accept that it will happen. So a lot of us think that once we write the plan that for whatever it is we're doing, if something comes along that we didn't plan for, there's a sense of frustration or something has gone wrong. That emotional response gets in the way. So what we want to do is accept that whatever plan we have, we know that's not what's going to happen. Something else is going to happen. We need to know what to look for that indicates that some kind of a change has arrived. And usually there are announcements or rumors or other indicators. But not all indicators actually signal a real change that we must deal with. So we need to know how these indicators can fool us and how to ignore the ones that don't matter. And finally, we have to know as much as we can about what's happening around us. These 4 items are fundamental to what some people call situational awareness. It's really pretty simple when you describe it that way, but it's not easy to do. For project managers, project sponsors, program managers, effective situational awareness can be burdensome unless you rely on automation and have an extensive cooperative network. There are some techniques listed here, 6 of them. Google Alerts, automated database queries, I'll be talking about those 2. Temperature reading I won't be talking about. I didn't think there would be time, but it's well described on my website. So go to my website and search for temperature reading. You'll find information about that. What Haven't I Told You is a game sort of like brainstorming, which we'll be talking